What's going on, guys? Ryan Wicker with Scrubs Unite here. Figured I'd go ahead and post up a new deck profile. It's been a little while since I've done one of these. I've just been experimenting around with a few decks. I picked up Endymion Zephyr again. It's been doing decently. Picked up Gladiator Beast after the new support again, and it's been doing great. It's just, there's something missing from it. Played Tenyi for a little bit, tried some more. And some of those are actually kind of interesting little niche control decks and hyper aggro. Neither one of them really seemed to fit me too well. I like the concepts, they just didn't do it for me. But I picked up a deck core from my boys at Turn 1 down in Oak Ridge for about $40 worth of trades. And oddly enough, within 2 weeks I was going undefeated with it. And I actually picked up Striker. It's not the stereotypical list you're seeing. It's not Impermanence Turbo. It's not Phantasme. It's still pretty generic, and people say it's still pretty helmet. But let's get on into it. So, 3 rays, primarily just because you have to. 3 Valor. I like Valor in the main. It's the poor man's Impermanence, so I guess that kind of fills the void. 2 Ash. I don't like hard once per turn hand traps at 3. You clog with them, and that second Ash that you open could have been any other card, so 2 it is. 2 Dino Wrestlers. This is not a going second build, however, it has the capabilities of going first or second. If any Magic players are familiar with the mid-range style plays, I like to keep my decks around mid-range if capable. 3 Engages. Feels almost like 5 sometimes. Played against Brandon Davis, who got top 16 at the Nashville Regional a while back. And I was playing 4 Engages turn 1, 2 or 3 more turn 2. The recyclability of this is just so good, and who doesn't love a free pot of greed? Packing 2 Booster. I feel like 2 is really all you need, because if the game goes beyond the use of the 4 boosters, usually you've already put yourself in the driver's seat, or you're probably going to end up losing in the long run anyway. 2 Shark Cannons, because grave robbing is hilarious. You go for the Twin Twisters, targeting a back row plus the Sanctuary. Ask them if the chain is good. And if they don't have any responses immediately, you just chain Shark Cannon, banish the Balinks, and you rip the field from them plus their protection. And if you got the 3 spells, it lets you go into Hida or whatever else, and it lets you climb into the Boral Sword. 2 Hercules base. I preferred it too, but you can side one out. The second Hercules base just allows for so much draw power, and it lets you get that recursion in really nicely. 1 Afterburner, 1 Jamming Waves. Oddly enough, I didn't need to run multiples of this, and I honestly don't understand why. These cards are just so good, but they really just... 1 seems about like a fit number for it. The 1 Hornet Drones, the 1 Anchor, the 1 Multi-Roll. The 2 Area 0, and the Terraforming to fill the void on the 3rd. It's not that I don't have the 3rd, I just feel like the deck doesn't rely heavily on Area 0. Sometimes it comes in handy, sometimes it's just a free shuffle. 3 Foolish Burial Goods and the Metal Foes Fusion for the draw package. 2 copies of Twin Twisters for the mirror, the salad matchups, the preemptive pops. It's just really good overall if you get forced to go second. 3 Lost Winds, because permanent attack reduction actually does make a difference in a lot of matches. I was actually holding off salads just because I was able to do the perma effect negate and perma attack reduction. 3 Tokobos. card is insane in the zombie matchup. I played zombies round 2, and he throws Zombie World out when I have Shizuku, and I told him, I said, well, that's all well and good, but since now all my stuff is zombies, I can link into machines. He goes, oh, this is unfortunate. And it just allowed me to play around my own Tokubo without much problem. And the main deck Spice sits at 2 copies of Karma Cut. This auto wins in the Dark Magician matchup. Auto wins Cyber Dragons. If you peg the Galtea or the Dingirsu and the other copy is already engraved because it's late game, you out both of those immediately. If you just hit the one Dingirsu when they make it, you rip it away and you force them to have to make a second one, but that has to wait a turn. And by then you already have the answers on board. Going into the extra, you got the 1 Kagari, the 3 Shizuku, the 3 Hayate, and 2 Kaina. I did Kaina life point gain at the end of round 2, just because I wanted to kind of just solidify the match. 1 Hita Ablaze, just to rip Ash or any fire out of the grave and be fine with it. Found a zombie player that I actually had ended up sniping his, what was it? He was banishing from his grave. Anyway, he goes to activate effect and banish from grave. And I shark cannoned the Solitaire to my board. He ended up outing it again, but I saw Solitaire, and then I go into Hita next turn when I shark cannon again, and that just let me climb. Phoenix, just because that extra back row pop is good. I would actually run Cerberus if I had it. I don't have my copy anymore. But this is a nice package by itself, and it lets me get where I need to go. 1 copy of Wee Witch, because we do run a little bit of spice in the sideboard. And in the instance that you're playing the Orchest matchup and you Widow Anchor the Dingirsu, I need to be able to link away into something. And I feel like Wee Witch is just probably one of the better options at the moment, and it's good for climbing. 1 Trisbana. I'm a madman, I know. But Trisbana actually serves really strong purposes in the control matchups, where Imperial Order becomes a thing, where Anti-Spell Fragrance becomes a thing. I played against Lunalight Danger Orchest in Game 2. They flipped Anti-Spell on me, and I had to go into Trisbana. I ended up ripping my own Widow Anchor and Shark Cannon off the board, but I outed the Anti-Spell plus another set and burned them for 1,000 and swung in for game, and I really didn't have a lot of problem out of that matchup because of Trisbana. 1 load, 1 sword. I so badly wished on so many occasions that this was Avramax, and I'll probably end up replacing 4 Avramax, but Boral Sword put in work, and it just closed out games for me without me having to think much about it. I just love the instances on how basically Shark Cannon and Widow Anchor plus any monster, any hand trap, and an already on field or engrave setup is just game, thanks to Boral Sword being in the deck. Sideboard, we're packing the 3 copies of Lancia. I never actually had to play this, even against the Orchest matchup. Just primarily because of how the deck likes to be able to control early on. The deck does have a little bit of pseudo-bricking capabilities, but even on the worst hands imaginable, like if you open Widow Anchor, Shark Cannon, Afterburners, Jamming Waves, and Multi-Roll, you just end up setting 5 pass, and you still end up on 2 disruptions minimum. If you open just all traps, then you just set the Tokubo, set the Karma Cut, and 1 Lost Wind pass, pitch the other Lost Wind. I didn't really need Lancia. Like, it's a good card, but the matchup I had, it was just easier not to go into him. 2 Ogre, just because I've actually found that sniping the, if you snipe an Ogre, the Gazelle, a lot of times that actually stops the rank 3 play, and it just puts a bind on the Salad players to play through. And that card is just absolutely hilarious in the lunalight matchup, because popping Tiger just kind of makes them scream. 2 Belle, again, never had to go into her, but it was nice to have her. I could have sided her in the Mayakashi matchup, the Mayakashi zombie matchup, but I just decided against it. Sideboard Spice and Savior of the Tournament goes to Mana Dragon Zernatron. So, for those who aren't familiar, if a back row gets popped or banished by your opponent's card, you can summon him from hand and then reset any, I want to say it's, one spell that was banished or in your graveyard straight to the spell and trap card zone. So, you can go into Zernatron off of them Cosmic Cycloning your multi-roll, get your multi-roll back, let them pop your Link, go into Ray, and then next turn go into like a Wee Witch, or use him, go into Nightmare Phoenix, and then Widow Anchor and Shark Cannon your way into a Boral Sword, and you get your multi-roll back. It's just 100% value, and there's really not many reasons to not use him, because his effect also activates and resolves Engrave. If he's not in your hand and he's just Engrave, he activates and resolves then. The only downside is he banishes himself when he leaves the field by his own effect. 3 Cyclones. Total Value Island. Just rip back row. It was just so good for the event. 3 Evenlies, because I get made to go second a lot in this deck, because my locals has actually caught on to how I like to activate Engage so much. So they've kind of just started making me go second if I lose the die roll or going into later games, and Evenly just lets me play through it. And Summon Limit. I haven't had to go into it, and I'm honestly thinking about replacing it. If I can figure out something, like if I get another Zernatron, I might replace Summon Limit with another Zernatron, because he was too good not to run it more than one. But that's the profile, guys. Hit me up, like, comment, subscribe, and peace out.